Good afternoon, and welcome to Quincy's 36th Annual Christmas Festival Parade. This is the third event to usher in the Christmas season this year under the sponsorship of the Quincy Center Business and Professional Association. It began last Friday night with the turning on of the light ceremony and continued with the arrival of Santa Claus and his elves yesterday afternoon. My name is Win Bentonson, and I'm going to be joined this afternoon by Don Vasconcells. Don is the former director of the New Bedford High School Whalers Marching Band and a judge for Drum Corps East and Drum Corps International. Hi, Win, how are you? The theme of this year's parade is Magic of Christmas, winning an entry submitted by a brother and sister team, 12-year-old Louis Bertucci and 10-and-a-half-year-old Tricia of 74 Dixwell Avenue in Quincy. And we'll be seeing them shortly, riding in the parade midway through the first division. Many floats entered by several organizations will be vying for some $2,000 in prizes. Several of the bands will be competing for a chance to represent New England in the Cotton Bowl Parade, January 1989. The parade is underway. And Don Vasconcells, what do you think of the classy clowns from Dedham?
They've got some very unique and original instruments here, Win. They're great. Some of those instruments look like they've been around for quite some time.
Well, they're very dedicated, young and old members of the Dedham Knights of Columbus. And for several years, they've preceded the main event here in Quincy.
I love the washboard. Check the washboard out on the end there. A new rhythm instrument has been founded.
And they have their own attractive vehicle that carries all of their paraphernalia back to Dedham when they're through. The big winner in the band's competition last year was Marshfield High School, and they're going down to Texas to participate in the Cotton Bowl Parade on New Year's Day. We'll be seeing them just before Santa Claus arrives in his float here at the conclusion of the parade. Judging of the floats is done in two stages. The first at Shaw's parking lot. That began this morning, and there'll be a second judging as the parade passes by. The three judges are Ruth Duquette, past president of the Braintree Art Association, Elizabeth Shore, fashion illustrator, and Mary Good, founding president of the Randolph Art Association. Those floats are judged on color, adherence to the theme, the magic of Christmas, the use of a material, originality, and overall appearance. And those participants have been guided all through this by the float coordinator, Fran Flynn. She and her committee try to encourage them and give their support as they plan their float and begin to prepare it for the parade. And it also sort of helps to eliminate duplication. Then following the parade, the prize winners in the float contest and the band competition will be announced at ceremonies to be conducted at North Quincy High School. The high school bands are divided into 4 divisions based on the number of members, and the trophies are awarded for the first 3 places, as well as Massachusetts and the New England Parade Championship. So as we watch these parades go by, Don, what are some of the things that the judges are going to look for as that parade reaches Veterans Memorial Stadium?
Well, there will be quite a few judges out there judging different aspects of the musical and marching performance. There'll be 2 judges just taking care of the marching performances, and they'll be looking at things such as performance and showmanship, the composition, how difficult the marching and maneuvering is that they're actually doing on the street, how difficult the music is, how well it's being performed, and then there'll be a percussion judge judging on the drum line and the mallet instruments, their contribution to the overall musical package, as well as their contribution to the overall visual package. Some of the drum lines have become quite sophisticated as the years have evolved, and now do a whole visual display in themselves. So they'll be adjudicated by that judge, and they have what they call a general effect judge. He'll be taking the overall look at everything, and looking at both the music and the marching and the percussion and how they all mingle together with the color guard to create one total visual and musical package.
Is this similar to judging in drum corps competition?
It's similar. The categories are approximately the same. They just have an awful short time to make their judgment before the band goes by. During a drum corps presentation, or marching band field show presentation, they're talking about maybe between 10 to 12 minutes of time, so that it's an ongoing thing rather than just a very quick 300-foot judging area that they have to deal with.
So this is even different from some of the programs that they've had in some of our high school stadiums recently.
Sure, I would imagine some of the music will be very similar to what they've played, but as far as their performance, it'll be very, very different, and I'm sure they have to practice before that.
Then in addition to the high school bands, there'll be other units, including the Waltham Post American Legion Band with Dot Slammin Hill as drum major and conductor, the Canton Post Band, we've already seen the Classy Clowns Band of Dedham Knights of Columbus, and the 215th Army Band. George White serves as general chairman of a 34-member committee that is responsible for arranging this annual extravaganza. In fact, they start planning for this event in February, almost a year in advance. So just as soon as this parade ends today, they'll start their evaluation, have their meetings in February, and they're held regularly throughout the year, because you don't put one of these things together in just a month or two.
No,
it takes a lot of coordination as far as the bands are concerned, because they have other commitments, and these different organizations that have floats entered, they want to know what the theme is just as soon as possible, and many of them started making their plans back in June and July. There are three major sponsors, including the City of Quincy, the Quincy Center Business and Professional Association, and the Patriot Ledger, who underwrite the cost of this parade, in addition to contributions from 23 other businesses and organizations. Now, as we speak, the parade is getting underway at the corner of School, Hancock, and Elm Streets, and it should be reaching here in just a few minutes. It will proceed down Hancock Street to North Quincy High School, where it will disband. The viewing stand is located at a point just before the finish line. Many of those who will be on that reviewing stand will also be marching in the parade. Members of the committee and city officials, city council members, school committee members, and so forth. The bands will be judged near Veterans Memorial Stadium. As we mentioned, the floats have already been given their preliminary judging, and then they'll be judged along the route. Because as we looked at our notes, it told us what some of these floats were trying to depict. Many of them have motion. So that's something that you don't get too much of when they're standing still there at the Shaw's parking lot. Even though it's overcast, it's not anywhere near as uncomfortable as a year ago, Dawn.
No,
you weren't able to experience that.
No, because of a last-minute change in plans, I wasn't able to be here. But I did see the telecast and thought of you here being cold and awful and rainy and just an awful day. But we've got a much better day today. The weather has plays a big part on the band's performances here, not only here, but when they play outside. So some of the high school bands are used to playing outside, but they have to deal with things like cold weather and the tuning of the instruments and the tuning of the drums and things like that. The weather really raises havoc with their musical performance. So it's all things that have to be taken into consideration when they come out and perform for the judges that will be down the street a little bit more.
It's not always the same playing with your gloves on.
No, it isn't. It isn't. It's a little bit more difficult. The woodwind players cut their fingers off the gloves so they can cover the holes and still try to keep their hands warm. It's a whole different aspect of performance when you have to play outside in the cold. That's what they have it on the drum corps. The drum corps during the summer have the benefit of good weather. Marching bands don't have that luxury usually.
I always think too of the drum majorettes and those people who wield the different flags, because sometimes they're not as warmly dressed as the band members are.
They really aren't. And just with them, if there's a good stiff wind, been witness to quite a few performances that the flag goes up and comes down 15, 20, 30 feet in a different direction. So the wind, thank God, isn't that going to play that much of a factor here this afternoon.
We have the usual number of hawkers and peddlers here with their very colorful balloons and the good things to eat. We're just hoping that they won't be in the way of our cameras so that you'll be able to see everything that we see as they pass in review. It was on Friday night at almost this same spot where the turning of the lights ceremony took place. They had a program that started around 6:30, and the lights went on precisely 7:30, lighting up this whole downtown area. We hear a band coming from the other direction.
This is a different aspect now. We've got, is it the Classy Clowns for a return performance?
I don't know. Maybe our cameras might be able to pick it up, but we do not.
It looks like the Classy Clowns have returned for a return performance.
Well, I thought they were a little early, so they're going to be giving us another look-see at their.
I hope they play for us again.
Then after the turning on of the light ceremony on Friday night, yesterday afternoon, under just about ideal conditions. It wasn't too cold, the sun was out, and we had Santa Claus and his elves dropping down on Faxon Field. And then Santa Claus was escorted to Cummings Store, where he'll be appearing during the Christmas shopping season. This is the first time I've never remembered them returning and reversing the route. But I imagine with the clowns, you can expect almost anything.
Just about anything. I still like that washboard, though. That is a great instrument. High school band directors should take note. And it looks like they're going to run head-on into the police department, who are beginning to start the parade. So this should be an interesting transition.
We're picking up the first signs of the parade getting underway. And here come the Classy Clowns once again.
Here we go. Is this what they call a command performance, I think?
I would think so. Washboard, bringing up the rear. Well, planning for next year's Christmas parade will get underway soon after this parade is over. We talked earlier with Lieutenant Mullen, who explained how the Quincy Police Department prepares for the crowd control.
Well, we started planning actually after last year's parade. What we do is we evaluate the parade, we critique it. I mean by we, the committee, and we meet over the months. Okay, we've been meeting since last year for this parade today. And since last year, we've had a couple of changes on security. Last year we had the auxiliary police assisting us, but this year, due to some civil liability problem, we're conducting this security by having all the Quincy Police Department. This entails a 3-mile route. It entails an awful lot of policemen. So we hope to have probably around 80 policemen here today covering this route.
Thank you, Lieutenant Mullen. And we see the police leading, contingent leading the parade coming up the street.
Comes the 215th Army Band. Here, the 215th Army Band with a little bit of Christmas. Some of these service bandsmen are very, very finely trained musicians.
coming in to view the members of the parade committee. You won't see all of them marching because many of them have duties to perform while the parade passes by. They have many responsibilities, but of the 34 members, you see many of them there. The president of the Quincy Center Business and Professional Association, Bob Quinn, Anthony Siciliano, Herb Fontaine, and Mr. Dana Cola. There are the float judges with their pads in hand. And at some point, they'll be leaving the parade and watching these floats as they go by to give them their second judging.
I think we're just about getting into our camera angle, the Waltham Post Band with the Yankee Doodle Dandy.
And preceding them, the Grand Marshal is supposed to be in that car. And I do not see him.
He must have not made his flight.
Well, he was flying from Washington with his wife, and somewhere along the line he's parading. Here he is.
There he is.
Following the flag. John Jake Comer, the National Commander of the American Legion. Quincy's first American Legion National Commander, and we're certainly proud of his accomplishments and say thank you to him for the fame and recognition that he brings to the city of Quincy. When he finishes with his duties as the National Commander, he'll return as Executive Secretary of the Quincy Housing Authority. John Slammin Hill.
I believe, Wynn, that is the oldest active drum major in the state.
The costume characters that you see here are one of the highlights of the Quincy Christmas Parade. Agnes Trilcott, co-chairperson of the Costume Character Committee, tells us about the characters in this year's parade.
This year in our annual 36th year parade, we will have 22 costume characters, and I will have 18 little Christmas elves who will ride on a trolley. I wish to thank the Brian Post, who each year sponsors the costume characters in the Christmas Festival Parade.
Hey, Brad, how do you like the socks on the end of the trombones? So you can keep the trombones warm. Canted Coast Band. Let's give a listen.
There are our city officials, Mayor McCauley, Senator Howell, members of the City Council, and some of the school committee members. Without, we call on the City of Quincy to give us their help, financial assistance. Now the many sponsors, we mentioned there are some, over 30 of them. There they are, as they stop in front of us here this afternoon. Three main sponsors being the Patriot Ledger, the City of Quincy, and the Quincy Center Business and Professional Association. It would be a difficult parade to put on without the support of these sponsors because it is costly.
things when that most people don't see or understand, that
Well,
we
I think
need that sponsorship to put on something of
think it
this
just
magnitude.
They think it just happens, Don. It isn't quite like that.
No, we both know, and the people that have been involved, that
The theme of this year's parade is the magic of Christmas. And this was the idea of a brother and sister team, Louis and Tricia Bertucci. I wonder how they came up with their idea.
On the paper it said you have to have a lot of
ideas for what you want for it to be on.
like,
For the parade to be on.
and then I just saw that and it said,
Magic of Christmas.
Magic of Christmas. Okay. Now, why did you think of that? Why did you think of that?
because I thought you could build a lot of floats on that idea. And it sounded good.
Sure. As simple as that. It sounded good. And from there, the several float sponsors took it, and you'll see. We haven't seen our first one yet. And see how they carried through on that theme. 12-year-old Louis and his 10-and-a-half-year-old sister, Tricia Bertucci, from Dixwell Avenue. See them waving there? Hi.
in our first mounted patrol.
This is the MDC Color Guard, Mounted Patrol. They left their motorcycles at home.
Beautiful looking animals, though.
Yes.
They are
Well, the
magnificent.
folks that are used to seeing them in the Blue Hills, that's where many of them are stationed. Blue Hills Reservation.
It's great to see the smiles on these little people's faces as they hear the bands and see the clouds.
For several of them, it's probably been several years that they've seen this, and then others are seeing it for the very first time. So,
And that really is the magic of Christmas.
Don, this is the Southbridge High School Band.
Southbridge, Massachusetts. In their red and white. Pioneer marching band from Southbridge. Here are some of the twirlers that you were talking about, dressed with their short little skirts in the cold weather. Okay, as we see the band come into our picture and see the majorettes come in now, back to the judging that'll be going on a little bit later. They will have a separate judge for majorettes and for color guard, judging their musical interpretation. And as our drum major comes into our picture now, also they'll have a separate category for drum major, how he controls the band, how he conducts the music, and how spirited he can be. And these two drum majors seem to be doing a real great job with this group. All in red, white, and blue.
Notice all the girls in that unit? Loads of
More and more, yeah. More and more ladies being involved with the marching band programs in the high school level.
And a unit of state police. I would imagine these come from different barracks around this part of the state. Now there's a tall man.
Somebody who's really getting up in the world, I would think.
All dressed up. Ever done that?
No, never have tried.
No, I never have either.
I never have
He
tried.
just makes it underneath those decorations. He's outgrown his pants though. Look.
And his shoes. And we hear there's the shot of the Bedford High School Band 1985 Cherry Blossom Festival participants in Washington, D.C. And in February of 88, this coming year, planning to travel to Orlando for performances at Disney World and Epcot Center. A very high-spirited group. As we can see the flags, again, we talked about their interpretation of the music that's being played. Let's just kind of give a listen as they come through here.
Okay, Don.
No wonder they won their division in Montreal. A very, very well-played unit.
And looking forward to their trip to Orlando, Florida.
And it'll be a lot warmer.
Every once in a while, you'll notice we have a break in the action, and that's because the parade does not all originate from one spot. The bands begin at the John Hancock parking area and travel down Mechanic Street, up Elm Street, and are fed into the parade as the floats come along Quincy Avenue from their point of beginning at the Shaw's Market parking lot. Here's someone that the kids all recognize, Ronald McDonald. Aboard his train, Ronald McDonald Show.
And coming into view, we have the Shepherd Hill Regional High School Band from Dudley and Charlton, Massachusetts, combined area regional high school band. If you look at the color guard out front, we get a good shot of their banner. And right behind that will come the color guard, doing a nice job of interpreting the music. Kind of a different concept to uniforms if we look at them, rather than the traditional marching band uniforms that are usually used. Drum major doing a very nice job. Very tough to keep a band that size together while walking backwards at the same time.
Unusual uniform.
Very unusual. First time I've had the opportunity to see them. looks like we have our first float coming in, Win.
Abington Savings Bank. This is their first time in this parade. The magic of a Disney Christmas. And as it passes in front of our cameras, you'll see many of the Disney characters, magic castles, sleigh and reindeers, and a special visitor. Abington Savings Bank is a state-chartered savings bank with deposits insured by FDIC and DIFM. In addition to Abington, the bank has offices in Halifax and Kingston, as well as a loan center in Abington. The magic of a Disney Christmas, wishing you all a Merry Christmas from everyone at Abington Savings Bank.
And right back at them, we have the Milford High School Scarlet Hawk Marching Band with the drum majors of Amy Avidian and Claudia Salati, and with their color guard dressed in bright red and white.
The band competition of the Quincy Christmas Parade is a sanctioned competition, and the winner of the large division will have a chance to go to the Cotton Bowl next year. Band coordinator Ann Morrow tells us how that competition is set up.
There are 4 divisions, and it's broken down into 2 sides of bands playing members. And they go through the judging area, and each one is judged on different categories: music, percussion, color guard, precision, general effect. And the winner of the large division gets to go to the Cotton Bowl Parade the following year. Marshfield High School Band is the winner of this past parade, so they are going to the 1988 Cotton Bowl.
Oh, okay, and the Germantown Yacht Club. I would imagine that the Germantown Yacht Club float is coming up.
Right into our viewing area on the long shot with all the
This is an unusual
fairy tale characters.
group, the Germantown Yacht Club, Where the Girls Are. And their theme, fairy tales can come true at Christmas. You'll see 3 scenes depicted: the courtyard of the castle, where you'll see the carriage and horses now turned into a pumpkin and mice, and the fairy godmother sprinkling her fairy dust. The next scene depicts the angry stepmother and 2 stepsisters still admiring in themselves. And the third scene is Cinderella being presented the glass slipper by Prince Charming, who, by the way, designed the float, Walter Wynne. This is the 4th year that the Germantown Yacht Club has been in the parade. They took the Mayor's Trophy in 1984, won honorable mention in 1985, and won first prize with their Christmas with Mother Goose last year. The Germantown Yacht Club, a women's yacht club, celebrating their 20th anniversary next year.
They've been working on this idea and working on the costumes since the summer, Win, so they've really spent a long time giving us this project to get it off the ground. So as you can see, it really took quite a long time to get that formulated.
We're still in Division 1 of the 36th Annual Christmas Festival Christmas Parade. The Hallamore Clydesdales coming into view. Almost looks as though they look forward to this every year. They like getting all decorated.
They really handle the parade environment very, very well. They don't rattle with the crowd or the bands and all the noise. And they just seem to be very tranquil and very used to being with people.
Their drivers are the ones that have a lot of responsibility, aren't they?
They sure are. And trailing it, if our cameras can get a shot, are the keepers of the droppings.
One of several antique cars, an old Ford paddy wagon. And then another one of the high rollers. of things that kids don't see every day.
No,
I want that for Christmas.
That's in great shape.
He makes it look easy,
Doesn't he? Boy, it's amazing how well these antiques have been kept up and look almost as new as they did the first day they were purchased. And we can see the shot of the band coming in. That's the Lawrence High School band as we begin our Division II. From Lawrence, Massachusetts, dressed up in their blue and white. If you notice, when the bands really vary in size, from very small to very large, and still all with the same common purpose in mind. And this band doing a real good job. Perfect example of a small band doing a very good job musically. They should be very proud of what they've put forth.
We had a chance to speak with Mayor McCauley before the parade, who has a holiday greeting from the residents of Quincy and surrounding communities watching this afternoon.
As mayor of the city of Quincy, it's my great pleasure to extend to all our citizens my best wishes for a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mayor McCauley.
And we're back to the Lawrence High School band as they pass our reviewing stand. Coming up, the Clouds of America. Everybody at one time in their life must have wanted to be a clown. I know I did, growing up and going to the circus, and I think just because they make people laugh so much, they're really reacting well with the crowd.
Here come the clowns, the Joeys. South Shore Joey's Alley, 159, affiliated with Clowns of America International. And more clowns, quite a contingent.
Really is. They'll be having a seminar win coming up March 3rd through the 6th at the Sheraton Plymouth Inn called For the Love of a Clown. Regional meetings of some of the clowns, bringing in clowns from Salem, Mass, Albany, New York, and some national people all the way from Corpus Christi, Texas.
Well, it's a wonderful organization for people who always wanted to be a clown. I think they have their annual meeting in August, their annual convention.
Comes the Milton High School band, participating in the Quincy Parade for over 20 years. They're a familiar sight here to the Quincy people. The band director, Thomas Mell, and the drum major, Kelly Cameron, doing a very fine job.
Had their last halftime show this past Thursday. Now, probably most of their affairs will be indoor
from now on. Most high school bands go inside now and become concert bands and work on that portion of their musical education for the next 3 or 4 months.
Schools for Girls. Their float, Storybooks, bring alive the magic of Christmas with 5 books depicted on their float. You'll see here in just a moment. This is their 8th consecutive appearance in the Quincy Christmas Festival Parade. Woodward School, grades 6 through seniors in high school. Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Nutcracker. And Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. A lot of detail and planning went into that float.
And they've been a prize winner in the past, and they're hoping that the judges will look on them favorably this year. Quincy High School President's Marching Band.
Hometown band. Nice shot of the color guard. Nice bright rainbow flags. Their pom-pom squad with them from Quincy High School, straight from the Thanksgiving Day game just a couple of days ago.
The homecoming queens from each of the high schools have responsibilities during the homecoming festivities as well as throughout the year. Let's listen to Quincy High School Queen Jennifer, who tells us about some of her responsibilities.
Also, throughout the year, I'll be asked to do various different types of orientations and to represent Quincy High School throughout the year.
Thank you, Jennifer. There are miniature horse. and one of the many antique cars. That kid's, that's a rumble seat, yes. Remember those?
I wonder what that would be worth in today's dollars.
We've got a Thunderbird coming up that's worth about 20,000. That's a Mustang. Yes. Here comes the Norton High School.
In their purple and white uniforms, a bright sight. With their majorettes up front and the drum majors we spoke about, all these people will be judged as a whole as well as being individually in their performance. Give them a listen, we can hear a little bit of Jingle Bell Rock. You know, one thing we should mention, Win, about the bands and some of these other people, these people are out for the Thanksgiving vacation usually, and they're giving up their time to do the extra to represent not only their school, but their city and their town. So these young people deserve an awful lot of credit.
I imagine their leadership has a lot to say about whether they appear or not.
Yeah, they usually don't work democratically when it comes to that.
We've got a parade next Sunday,
and you will be there.
Be there.
The color guard just passing our reviewing stand. And coming up, looks like our picture's picking up another float.
Another float, and this one, the Patriot Ledger and Christmases of the past. The central focus being a reproduction of an earlier Patriot Ledger building. In each window, a photo of its past. In front of the building, the old-fashioned Carriers. This was constructed by their own crews. They're celebrating their 150th anniversary this year. Beginning as a small 4-page weekly, the Ledger has grown to become Massachusetts' largest evening daily newspaper. Originally based in Quincy, this independent newspaper is now circulated in some 30 towns throughout the South Shore, and a very beautiful commercial float. Homemade.
Very nicely done. I wonder if those elves are getting cold.
I don't know.
And we've got another band coming in. This band has traveled a little bit away from here. Chicopee, Massachusetts, Chicopee Comprehensive High School.
I can remember several years ago on a very, very cold Sunday when they had 2 bands. Had 2 high schools. Now they combine it into one. They have a very loyal group of parents who help them along. Come down by busloads.
Well, I'll tell you, if it wasn't for the support of the parents and the extra money that they raise and helping with uniforms and doing that, they are a very vital part to any band program, and they don't usually get a lot of credit. So I think that maybe now's a great time to give the parents of all the bands, not only that are marching today, but all the bands here, that all you parents bring your young people to the many rehearsals and things like that. You should be congratulated for all your hard and diligent work. Let's give them a listen.
This is the float sponsored by Kearney's Modern Formal. And aboard that float are some of the officers. There's the harbor master of Quincy and Miss Quincy Bay. Miss Quincy Bay Race Week, and this is one of her duties throughout the year to appear in the Miss Quincy Bay float, sponsored by Bernie's Modern Formal. Here are the winners of the poster contest. Amy Drysdale, who won the first prize, grade 3 in the Furnace School. Second prize, a $50 savings bond for Chrissy Fasoli of St. Anne's School. An honorable mention to Jason Newhall of St. Anne's School, grade 2. That was for the grade 1 through 3 division. Grades 4 through 6, the first prize of a $100 savings bond went to Jennifer Bertucci, grade 5 of St. Mary's School. Second prize of a $50 savings bond to Joy Amo, grade 5 at the Marymount School. An honorable mention, a $25 savings bond to Katie Callahan, grade 5 at St. Anne's School.
And we have Wynn Pittsfield High School marching band. Very active color guard.
Floats are another highlight of the Quincy Christmas Parade. We've seen some of them already. Fran Flynn is the chairperson of the float committee, and she has some information for us on some of the floats that we'll be seeing in this year's parade. Fran?
This year we have 20 floats in the parade. They come from, mainly from Quincy, but we have several from the outskirts towns. And we have students from Germantown drivers who enter this year, which would be interesting. And also we have one from Germantown Yacht Club that is trying to please the children with Cinderella and how her childhood.
And we're back here to the Pittsfield High School band as they pass our reviewing stand.
Bernie Risberg with the Quincy Bay Race Week Association. Their 50th year, 1987.
They were last year's winner of the Mayor's Trophy. It looks like they've done another real great job in putting together this float.
The Quincy Bay Race Week Association, Christmas from sea to sea.
And that's one of the rotating, moving pieces of these floats that you were talking about.
Yes.
It's something newer this year, the rotating 8-foot globe.
Quincy Bay Race Week Association, comprising 7 yacht clubs in the Quincy Bay area. And every August, of course, they sponsor their race week. Tracks of boaters from all over the area.
When this next band that's coming up is the Douglas Junior and Senior High School Marching Band, and they are one of the smallest public high schools in the state of Massachusetts. As a matter of fact, when 20% of the student body belongs to the band. So that's getting the student body involved. That's quite a ratio that doesn't happen to some of the larger schools. And they just took their first place category in a parade in Florida and Tennessee. And this spring they're going down to Washington, D.C. to the Festivals of Music and the Shenandoah Music Festival down there. So they seem to be a very well-traveled organization. And the majorettes dressed a little bit warmer than some of the others we've seen. So they seem to be veterans of the cold weather and performing outside.
One thing I've noticed this year, Don, is that many of the bands are playing Christmas music.
Yes, it's a nicer touch. It puts a little bit more extra work for the band directors and the staffs to get something prepared in a short period of time, because like you said, they just finished their Thanksgiving program and now in 3 or 4 days put together Christmas music, but it really is much more appropriate. Drum majors, Allison Dwight, Lee Tatro, Jennifer Schnell, and Christopher Dashiell.
Here's Teak Fire, representing the North Pole Fire Department, decorated with laurel roping ribbons, manned by a young crew of Santa's friends. Season's greetings from Senator Paul Harold.
It's a good thing they don't have to get to a fire in a hurry, huh?
Where did he find that?
Following, we have the Weymouth South High School Wildcat Marching Band. Again, more Christmas music, and I think that's great. With a little swing version of Jingle Bells. With all their instruments brightly decorated with tinsel and their Santa's caps. Very young people in that organization.
imagine many of these kids that are on the sidelines here would love to be aboard that old trolley car.
Sure would.
Santa's little helpers. This has been a fixture of the Christmas parade for I don't know how many years. They bring it up every year. Our next float, a Christmas card, the magic of the spirit of Christmas. This is sponsored by the Coke Club. This is in memory of the late Richard Coke, who was a very, very important member of this committee and of this city. Here are his greetings. The three scenes, one for each of three spirits, past, Scrooge as young moneymaker, present Bob Cratchit, Tiny Tim and family, yet to be Scrooge and his tombstone.
Okay, and we have Situate High School Marching Band under the direction of Paula Remick. They compete every weekend in New England Scholastic Band field show competitions. So they're a well-traveled group that have been in competitions many times during the fall season, and then travel during the spring season to various places in the United States to compete. So these youngsters are a very well-traveled and very well-coordinated group.
Selection of bands for the Quincy Christmas Parade is a long, involved process. Here's the band coordinator, Ann Morrill, who tells us more about the selection process.
We select bands for this parade by sending out cover letters and applications to each and every high school band in Massachusetts and throughout New England. Then we just sit back and wait for them to send back their filled out application. And we can accept usually up to 25 because of the length of the parade. And we also pick up their travel expenses, so there is financial aspect to that. Most every year we get the same bands. The new one this year is Situate.
Thank you, Ann. Ann Morrill. And as we were speaking to Ann, we had the students against drunk driving going by. A very, very important theme of theirs. Sad, students against drunk driving.
I think it's an important theme during this holiday season coming up with that we keep that in mind. And some of the people that'll help us keep that in mind are the Blue Knights as they come in with their motorcycle mounted patrol. These people take real pride in the motorcycles that they ride. They're almost as big and as well put together as some of the autos that we drive.
Them in a
The Blue Knights are passing our reviewing stand. Maybe it might be a good time when to talk about a little bit on how the floats are adjudicated, and we talked about the bands. The floats have their own adjudication, and they're judged on their originality. These are non-commercial floats, by the way. Their originality, their use of materials. We've seen some very good uses of materials in some of these floats. Their use of color, and they really have gotten better and better every year, because I can remember when New Bedford High School was here and we would see the floats. They've gotten a lot better and much more colorful. Their overall look, and of course their adherence to the Christmas theme and the theme of the year. So they too have quite a set criteria that they have to follow as they prepare their floats to here.
Here comes the Abington High School band. And you know what their reputation is.
Their reputation is a very, very good one. A very fine playing unit from not too far from here. Again, in memory of their band director who passed away about a year or so ago. They've kept their tradition going and really are a proud representation of not only their community but the state of Massachusetts as well. They're bright green and white, and their very spirited music has represented us very, very well, not only in the Quincy Parade but throughout Massachusetts.
It's another band that has a very active parents organization, a support group.
Without them, they wouldn't have the money to do the funding, to get the uniforms, to get the travel expenses, and even some of the equipment that's brought to some of the parent organizations.
And they do have travel expenses. They've been great distances participating in the other contests.
And this is some of the percussion section. We've got a shot of the percussion section on how sophisticated they've become with mallet instruments and different sized drums, and they've become a whole band almost to themselves.
Just coming into view, the float from St. John's Church, St. John's Parish, their theme, the magic of Christmas. This is a parish project for young and old of St. John Baptist Church.
And they've got Frosty the Snowman turning from side to side.
One of the awards given to the floats in this parade is the Father Thomas Tierney Award. Father Tierney was with this parade at the very beginning 36 years ago. And St. John's has been a part of the parade every year since. 36 years, that's quite a record.
That's quite a record.
We've had some groups that have come and gone, and this is one that has stayed throughout, and they've come up with I can't say a prize-winning float every year, but they've been, many times they've caught the first prize.
The parade seems to be moving along rather well. We're coming up to our next high school marching band, the Plymouth North High School Band from Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Agnes Trocott, co-chairperson of the Costume Character Committee, has a special duty when it comes to the festival committee. Chairman George White. Let's find out more about that phase.
Our General Chairman, George White, loves to participate as a costume character. Each year it is my duty to get a special costume for him. This year I think everybody will be real pleased with what I have picked out for him.
Okay, we're back here once again with the Plymouth North High School Band. The band...
The Plymouth Carver, now it's Plymouth North.
Plymouth North, as you can see, the Plymouth Carver emblem still on their uniform. So again, once again, another small band that has to combine now to and keep going. And it's a credit to them that they can keep going and keep playing. next float coming in to view.
This is the Students Against Drunk Driving. It was Parents Without Partners that we had earlier in the parade. This is Students Against Drunk Driving, family gathering, Christmas dinner, and gift giving. The idea, of course, of this organization to help fight and keep drunk drivers off the road and keep everyone safe over the holidays and at all times. This is the Quincy Voltech chapter of Students Against Drunk Driving.
Help keep our Christmas merry. And on an upward note, the Fairhaven High School Blue Devil Marching Band from Fairhaven, Massachusetts. Now here's an upcoming group that has had dwindled almost out of being, and credit to their parent organization and to their band director Joe Harding has really brought this band back strong. They've been competing all fall long and have really done a very fine job. And they also plan to perform at the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World during the spring. So we're going to have a large representation from the state of Massachusetts down in the Magic Kingdom. I wish I was going with them, I'll tell you. That is quite an honor for bands to go through. They treat you very well down there at Disney World, and they handpick their selections. So it's quite an honor to these young people that they were chosen to participate in the Walt Disney World Parade.
The Magic of Learning. This is sponsored by Quincy Junior College. All students of Quincy Junior College, their theme, the magic of learning. Students are dressed in academic regalia. Students decorated and put together this year's float. Quincy Junior College has a long tradition of service to Greater Boston and the South Shore. They were the pioneer in providing affordable access to higher education for all students. Founded in 1958, Quincy Junior College is the oldest public community college in eastern Massachusetts. And their student body comes from not only Massachusetts, but other communities, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and 15 foreign countries.
This is their third year, so we're having people participating every single year, and it's great to see some of these people come back.
North Quincy High School Red Raiders Marching Band.
Direct from their Thanksgiving shootout.
Yes.
From what I understand. It's great to see cheerleaders being integrated, the athletic department and the music department being integrated together. And again, once again, the Christmas music being played here. The homecoming queen in her court.
It's the North Quincy High School homecoming queen. I have her name somewhere. Nancy Flukes of Montclair. And with her, Barbara Carroll and Patty Feeney. Some more antique cars. That doesn't look so old. That's a Buick Super Convertible. Let's hear from Bob Noble, who's telling us about the committee judging this year's Christmas parade floats. Bob?
There are 5 people involved in judging the float this year. The 3 judges, Betty Shore from Boston, who's a mother and a fashion illustrator. Betty Duque from Norwell, who's also a mother and is a part-time writer for one of the local neighborhood newspapers there. And Mary Good, a portrait painter from Randolph, who's also the founding president of the Randolph Art Association. I'm the coordinator of the group, and I'm assisted this year by Rita Kelleher, who helps me with Italian. And in the past, we had, and I hope to have him this year, was Ronald Mcdonald, but due to his illness, he can't join us this year, and we certainly hope he'll be back next year.
We're back to Holbrook High School. Band stopped in front of us.
Contingent, and of course, what would it be without their Toys for Tots campaign, as they gather toys to distribute to those less fortunate.
They're in their 40th year.
40th year of sharing Toys for Tots, sponsored by the United States Marine Corps Reserve. There you see in the distance Kearney Hospital's float, Kearney's Voice of Christmas. You see the choir singing Christmas carols in a chapel setting. This is a first for the Quincy Festival Parade. Kearney Hospital, founded in 1863, a major community hospital located in the Dorchester section of Boston and a member of the Daughters of Charity National Health System. Their services and staff are responsive to the primary and secondary health care needs of the individuals and families served by the hospital. Riding on the float in his red vest and green tie, Jack Logue, president of Kearney Hospital, his wife Sandy, and Sister Mary Walter Boyle, chairman of the Kearney Hospital Board. Very nice float, Kearney's Voice of Christmas.
And following them directly, we have the Weymouth North Maroon and Gold Marching Band under the direction of Ed Cipulo, competing in the Quincy Christmas Parade for the very, very first time, and we hope that this will be the first of many appearances for them. They've appeared before us in a non-competitive nature, and this year they decided to take the plunge, so to speak, and begin their competitive endeavors here. Drum majors are Amy DeRocher and Stacy Strong, doing a very, very nice job with their Weymouth North High School Maroon and Gold Marching Band. And these are brand new uniforms that they're using for today's parade for the very, very first time.
The judging for the floats begins early on parade morning. Fran Flynn would tell us more about the judging that got underway early today.
Judging information goes out with the information on how to enter a float. And the judges will be at the judging area at 9:30 that morning. They judge the parking area, and then they judge again on the line of march.
What are they looking for?
Thank you, Fran. And I'm telling you, as we've seen some of these floats go by, that the judges really have their hands
That's a great
full
shot.
today.
That's a great shot. George Santry, nice job. Good music sometimes doesn't bear any introduction or any commentary. We're just going to sit back a little bit and let them play and let everyone enjoy.
imagine that Blue Devils motorcycle unit are probably holding up the parade.
Holding things up just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit here. Might be a good chance while we have the bands in front of us to go over a little bit on some of the ways that these people will be judged a little bit later on down the line as we get down about a half mile or so before they in front of the judging stands. We talked about being judged as far as their musicianship or their proficiency in music. They really take into a lot of different aspects, such as the execution, how well it's played, how they play as a group as well as individually, how the music is interpreted, how difficult the music is that they're playing. They consider the imaginative way. They change the style of the music, like we heard Jingle Bells being played with a little bit of a swing, an old style swing, and the variety and some of the excitement that they create by their music. So they really take into account a lot of different things when they're judging the musicality, as well as, and those are the same types of things they use when they judge their marching ability. And then we get into things like color guard that we talked about before, and their color guard, or the band front as they like to be called, with the flags and majorettes. They're judged again on their performance, their showmanship, their spirit, how well they portray the music, how confident they are on their portrayal of the music, as well as the difficulty of what they do. Does it enhance it? Does it take away from it? So it really is a very strict set of rules that these young people are going to be judged on when they get down the road a little bit later on. And the same goes for percussion and for the twirling aspect as well. Their control and the precision. Again, because it's a musical activity, it has to go and fit with the music, as well as be difficult and actually enhance the music and not take away from it.
It's a lot more than a lot of people realize.
Sure is.
When they hear the scores, and they wonder, how did that come about? Now they know.
Now they know. Hopefully, have a little bit better idea that it's not pulled from the ear. And each category, it has a certain amount of points, and each judge works within that format. And these judges are members of the Massachusetts Judges Association and have been adjudicating not only on a local level, but on a national level. Some have adjudicated with me during the summer on a regular basis. And so we're really lucky to have people of this quality coming down and working with our young people and giving their input, and hopefully helping their programs to grow.
This also gives the directors something to work on for another year.
It sure does.
Pointing out some of the weak spots that they hadn't realized.
As with anything else, sometimes the closer you are to something, the less liable you are to see the flaws that are in it. And somebody taking another look at the package will be more apt to pick up the things that you take for granted. I know as a former band director, and rehearsing things over and over and over again every day, sometimes you tend to accept things that are not, that you think are normal, and are really mistakes, or small mistakes that you seem to overlook. So it's a day-to-day growing, hopefully, for these young people, from the start of when they come into their band camps in August to when they leave and graduate in June.
All right, we're getting ready to leave us again. YMCA after-school care program is next. Dreams of the Night Before Christmas. You'll see traditional highlights of the night before Christmas: Raggedy Ann and Andy, toy soldiers, clowns, stockings filled on the chimney, and of course the very restless night in bed. Look for the motion as this float goes by. The after-school care program has been in operation for 3 years. There are programs in Quincy, Braintree, and Weymouth, with some 140 children participating. Programs designed to give fun and safe alternatives to going home to an empty house. A lot to see there. South Shore-wide after-school care float. Wishing season Greetings to all.
And coming up, we have the David Prouty Anthem Marching Band. Speaking about growth, I've had the pleasure to see this organization grow and become better and better and stronger every single year. And last year they won their division championship here at the Quincy Parade and are going after a repeat performance. A very well-trained group under the direction of Mr. George Garber, and the drum major is Beth McGinnis, doing a very nice job with color guard captains Nadine Lucier and Karen Bodicus. We got a nice shot of the drum major working and holding that performance together with the color guard interpreting. Again, we talked about interpretation of the music and enhancing what they're doing. Nice shot going down the street of the band. Look at those lines, nice and straight. And those will be judged as they get down there a little bit later on. Also the 1987 Parade Class A champions for Central Massachusetts at the Central States Exposition. So they've carried their professionalism and their musicality right across the state of Massachusetts. And this year they've been traveling around quite a bit, bringing their music to different states of New England. Very well performed and well coordinated group of young people.
David Prouty, high school band.
Their motto is, in small packages comes a big sound, and they really do. Sun must be very bright today. They were prepared. Very nice, very good. That's body position, very straight.
This next float submitted by the South Shore Bank, the Nutcracker. Magic of Christmas exemplified in their float with giant toy soldiers and stuffed animals rising up to an 8-foot nutcracker. Bank employees and their children complete the theme with costumes from the magical ballet itself. Victorian townspeople on the way to a Christmas party, Clara the drummer rabbit, Harlequin the China doll, stuffed animals, toy soldiers ready to fight the good sugar plum fairy and the evil king rat. Then we have Chris Smith, Senior Vice President of South Shore Bank, his wife Susan, and their daughter Erica, helping to celebrate in their 1956 Ford Thunderbird convertible. The car originally sold in Milton and was bought from its original owner. 1956, the estimated value of the car was $3,268. Today, its estimated worth is $20,000.
Well, that's a strong return for an investment, huh?
And right next to them we have the Quincy High School float, that magical scene from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, when the abominable snowman's heart turns good and he helps Santa and his friends to put the star on the Christmas tree. Have a holly jolly Christmas.
And our camera, as the float leaves, picks up the East Bridgewater High School Viking Marching Band under the direction of Mr. Dan Lasdow. Very high-spirited, very visual group, as we can see by our color guard presentation here. They have been a member for the Quincy Christmas Parade for quite some time and have walked away with many, many championships here at the Quincy Christmas Parade, including last year's Division I championship. They have been an active member in the New England Scholastic Band Association, winning the Field Show Championships in various divisions from 1981 all the way up to 1986. So they have, they're a very well-coordinated group, and speaking of a strong parents group, they have really helped these young folks travel to Niagara Falls. They've gone to Niagara Falls and Toronto and Ontario, and they've participated in Washington, D.C. for 3 years, and they have just been performing all over the place, including our own State House here in Massachusetts. Very well instructed group, play very, very finely and very interpretive, as you can see here as the color guard portrays somewhere out there. Let's just watch and listen, and we can maybe hopefully see some of the things we talked about they'll be judged on later on.
Prizes are given for the best floats of the Quincy Christmas Parade, and Bob Noble is in charge of the float judging. He wants to talk about those prizes that are being awarded to this year's non-commercial winning floats. All right, well, we'll continue to talk about the Bank of Boston's float, Santa's Sleigh and Elves. The sleigh being pulled by reindeer and Santa's elves waving the sleigh filled with presents. A very colorful float. Bank of Boston has just opened a new branch in Quincy at 1 Scammell Street, and they're also celebrating their 10th anniversary at their Hancock Street branch in downtown Quincy.
Oh, and there we go. I hope our camera caught the shot of our twirlers with their tumble and toss. That is the Agawam High School marching Mohawk band that we're watching right now in the direction of Mr. Darcy Davis. They have, again, been New England champions in Division III last year. They are a very well-traveled organization, very well performed, with, as they put it, a very dedicated parent group to assist them. 1986, they took first place in the Dixie Classic in Virginia Beach, and second place in the Cherry Blossom Festival in Washington. A very well-traveled and well-performed Agawam Mohawk marching band.
Jack Conway Realtors, a last-minute entry. Merry Christmas from Conway Country. Another colorful float. Jack Conway, very much in the real estate business here on the South Shore, and about to open a brand new Quincy location down there at Elm and Mechanic Streets. Merry Christmas from Conway Country. We ready to hear from Bob Noble, I wonder? Okay. They tell me he's not quite ready.
Coming into our picture is the Kiwanis Club International float, Saving Young Lives.
This is a float designed to promote the Kiwanis Pediatric Trauma Institute at the New England Medical Center. Miracles occur at this facility daily as their physicians and nurses treat children from throughout New England. Quincy Kiwanis Club has already contributed over $50,000 to help support the work of the Institute, and New England Kiwanis Clubs provide $245,000 annually. Vice President Bob Munstein is the driver. Current President, the Reverend Dr. Richard Malmquist, is aboard the float. President Malmquist announced at this week's luncheon meeting of the two Quincy High School football squads at the club over the past 3.5 years contributed $20,000 to assist needy students attending the Quincy Public Schools. And over the past 15 years, some $50,000 has been contributed for scholarships. Don?
As we come back, we have our last year's Division IV championship. Marshfield High School band, and again with their bright green and white, and the 1988 representative from Massachusetts to the Cotton Bowl Parade. So they'll have a real great and interesting New Year's coming up, spending it down in Dallas, Texas. It'll be a lot warmer, hopefully, than it is here, and a real spirited performance, a high-stepping group. I think they'll do a very super job for us down there in Dallas, represent Massachusetts superbly. Let's just kind of give them a listen. They're really a very well-played unit. That's probably one of the biggest bands we've seen this afternoon also, and that would mean they would be competing in the Division 4, which is the division for the larger bands. Very fine band.
All right, Bob. Prizes are given for the best floats of the Quincy Christmas Parade. Bob Noble's in charge of the float judging, and he wants to tell us about the prizes being awarded to this year's non-commercial winning floats.
There are 7 prizes awarded in the parade. They're broken up into several different groups. The first one, 5 prizes for the non-commercial category. There's a $1,000 first prize with a Father Tierney trophy, a $500 second prize, a $300 third prize, a $200 fourth prize, and the honorable mention of 5th prize. It goes to the best Quincy float that doesn't win one of the first 4 prizes.
Thank you, Bob. And here comes Quincy's Ladder 1, one of its newer acquisitions, followed by the Quincy Center Business and Professional Association float. With you know who.
I was just going to say, I don't think that bears any kind of introduction. I think it serves itself well.
There he is, the man that all the kids are looking forward to. One of the major sponsors of this year's parade, Quincy Center Business and Professional Association.
It's great just to see the kids' reaction when they comes by.
And that's it, the 1987 Quincy Christmas Festival Parade. For those of you who are unable to be on hand for all the color and excitement, we hope you've enjoyed watching in the comfort of your home or wherever you happen to be looking at us. Our thanks to you, Don Vasconcelos, for assisting in conveying all the fun and color of this event. Our thanks also to Ed Fiddler and the crew of Quincy Cable Systems, who with their cameras and sound equipment made it possible for you to view all of this event in living color. Now, 1 week from tonight, at 6 o'clock, the annual Nativity Pageant will take place at historic United First Parish Church, which is located directly across from our camera point. Father Higgins of the Sacred Heart Parish, North Quincy, is coordinating this event, which will be open to the public. Best wishes for the holiday season are extended by the Quincy Center Business and Professional Association, the City of Quincy, the Patriot Ledger, and the 23 other business and fraternal organizations who helped to make it possible for the 36 years. Do you have one thing to say, Don, before we leave?
I'd like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday, and to take a piece from the Students Against Drunk Drivers, have a very safe holiday.
Thank you for joining us, Don Vasconcelos, and I wish you and yours a happy holiday season and everything that's good. Now, stay tuned as Quincy Cable Systems continues its coverage of 1986 Christmas Festival. I'm Win Bettens.